Hey, my name is Michael, and wanted to talk to you a little bit about um, getting started in a truck driving career. Um, I started school at the North Carolina Truck Driving School in Truck Driver Training School, Johnson Community College in Smithfield, back late November of 2019, and finished up December 20th. While I was there, we had some recruiters come to the class, of course, trying to recruit us. And one that stood out in my mind was Mcelroy Truckline's. I hadn't really given much thought to flatbed, the flatbed industry. And to be honest with you, I'm new to truck driving. I spent the last 12 years of my life in law enforcement, and had an opportunity to step away from that, and so that's what I did, and decided to go to school to get my Class A's, and so that's what I did. So fast forward, when it came time to graduate from the truck driving school, I chose to go with Mcelroy. And one of the reasons is because it's a Christian-based company. There is some talk on YouTube from an individual that expressed his concerns because he said that they shoved their quote-unquote religion down his throat, and I have not found that to be true. So I want to tell you about my experience so far with Mcelroy, so that you can make maybe it kind of help you make an informed decision about which trucking company to go with. So first day of orientation, well, let me back up. The night before, which is on a Sunday, 2 weeks ago, they put us up in a hotel. I was out of the Pleasant Hill, North Carolina terminal. That's where I went to orientation and training at. That Sunday night, me and actually a guy that was in my CDL truck driving school class with me, we roomed together. They provided a room for us. It was okay. It's not the best hotel room I've ever been in, but I mean, it was manageable. So that Monday morning, we got up. We had to be at the terminal by 7 o'clock. And we went through orientation, and that consisted of basically they tested us on what knowledge we had coming into it, and basically our basic skills, what we knew about the FMCSA and all that stuff. So we took a bunch of tests, and they were little 10, 15 question, multiple choice, true false stuff. It wasn't bad at all. And then the second day, I believe it was, we had to go do a DOT physical, and then we had to go take the physical agility test. And basically, what that physical agility test consisted of was, well, let me back up just a minute. If you go take your when you go take your DOT physical for Mcelroy, if you've had any kind of heart procedure or anything like that, it will help you greatly. If, like, let me just say it like this: I had a stent put in back in 2013, and last year, or actually year before last, in 2018, I went and had a stress test done just to make sure everything was okay, and I got the documentation, the results, and all from it. And I had it at the house. When I went to get my DOT physical, the doctor that was doing the DOT physical for Mcelroy would not sign off on my med certification until he had results from the stress test. So I was able to contact my wife, and she was able to scan that stuff in and email it and get it to me. So I got very fortunate on that deal. I said all that to say this: if you have any kind of heart issue or diabetes or anything like that, and you've recently, been to the doctor cause of it, and you've got some paperwork and stuff to verify that, you probably it would be in your best interest to take it with you, so you don't have to do like me and scramble. I got very fortunate. I got a good wife. She happened to be at home, and she sent all that stuff over, and I was able to get all that to the doctor, and he signed off on me. Physical agility was done at a physical therapy place, and what you have to do is you have to stand on your right leg for 30 seconds and maintain your balance. Then they check your pulse. You stand on your left leg for 30 seconds with your knee bent for 30 seconds, and they check your pulse. Then after that, they got like a 25-pound tarp laying on the floor, folded up, and you actually have to bend down with your knees, pick it up, stand up straight, flip the tarp over, and let it hit the ground. You have to bend down with your knees again, pick it up, flip it over, drop it back to the ground. You have to do that like 30 times. And after that, he checks your heart rate. From there, you go over to this table with 4 corners on it. And up under the table, there's numbers posted up under the table. And you have to bend down and look up under the table and read that number off on all 4 corners. You have to do that 2 times. And then he checks your pulse after that. Once you get done with that, you have to walk over to a wall, and there is a 40-pound tarp, an 85-pound tarp, and either 110 or 120-pound tarp. They're rolled up with a bungee cord around it. And so you go to the 40-pound tarp and you pick it up. You can't touch the wall. You pick it up, and there's a line on the wall that you have to lift the bottom of the tarp up to. And you set it down, he checks your pulse. Then you go to the 80-pound tarp, do the same thing, he checks your pulse. Then you go to the 110, 120-pound tarp. I think it's 110. And you do the same thing, you sit it down, he checks your pulse. So after that, there's a sled that's got 150 pounds on it, and you have to push it a certain distance, which ain't far. It's like maybe 6 feet. He checks your pulse. Then you have to pull it back to where you started from. Then he checks your pulse after that. Not a big deal. And then they have a step ladder and a table, and the table has a step up in front of it. So what you have to do is you have to climb up to the second rung of the ladder, climb back down, walk over to the table, which is not far from it at all. You step up on the step and then put both knees on the table and count 1. Then you get back down, go back to the ladder, do the same thing again, come back to the table, step up on the thing and put both knees on the table and count 2. You have to do that 10 times. After you do that, he checks your pulse again, and that's pretty much the whole test. You'll be sore the next day. It don't sound like there's much, but I promise you, unless you just work out every day, your thighs you'll be sore the next day. So that was day 2. Most of that day was doing the physical agility test, the DOT physical. You come back to class. I think you watch some videos. If you've been watching J.J. Keller videos, that's not over with. So you'll be watching some of those in class. The next day, on Wednesday, we went out and we did a road test with one of the training safety guys there. Super nice guy, Mr. Brent. He is a super nice guy. Funny. He kept us entertained, and he made a big impact on me. So went in there. On Wednesday, he said we were going to do a road test. The road test is maybe 5 miles. It's not far at all. And basically what he's looking for is to see if you've got a general understanding of how to operate a tractor trailer. And so you'll pull a flatbed with maybe a half load on it, and you'll drive. It's pretty much a straight shot. You turn out of the school or the terminal, you take a left and you go all the way into the little town of Gaston, which is a straight shot. Just make sure you obey all the traffic laws, the speed limit, stuff like that right there. Come up to a stoplight, turns green, you go across. There's I believe it's a Hardee's there on the right. He makes you turn in that parking lot, and that's it. And then you got another student with you, and they drive back. So that's pretty much how that road test goes. It's pretty simple. Actually, it's very simple. So you do that, and then you watch more videos, take more tests, and then on Thursday, my week fell on New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. And so we had orientation on New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. New Year's Day fell on a Thursday, I believe it was. And so we had orientation that day, but we got out a little bit early, and we didn't have to be there Friday. So that's not typical. That's just what happened with my deal. I know the class that was there this past week when I was there for my second week of training, they went all the way up through Friday, but we all got out of class early on Friday. It was like 12 o'clock or something like that. So that day, actually that week for us, we got out on Thursday, and we went home, and we had Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And I had to be back we stayed in Emporia, Virginia, so I had to be back at Emporia Sunday night so I could be in class Monday morning for training. It wasn't about an hour and a half, 2-hour drive for me. It wasn't bad at all. So that Monday when we came back, let me back up. That Wednesday after the physical agility test, they got a bunch of tarps outside rolled up. They're like 125 pounds, something like that. You have to pick one up, take it over there. You have to roll it out. You have to unfold it, lay it all out. Then you have to fold it back up the way it was and roll it back up, put the bungee back around it. You have to do that 3 times. You're not timed. It's just getting you used to what it's like to deal with the tarps. So that happened too. And then once you get done with that, you go over to a truck and you start throwing straps to make sure you can show them how, if you know how to secure a load, strap stuff down. They're not really looking for regulation, so to speak, just the mechanics of it. Do you know how to throw the strap, hook it, come back around, get the cheater bar, tighten it down, just stuff like that. Do you know how to work a freestanding 4-inch strap with a ratchet strap and a 2-inch? So if you know how to operate one of them, you're good to go. And then when you get done with that, you go over to another truck and you show them that you can couple and uncouple a trailer. You only do that one time. The way we did it in school where I graduated from was very, it's like 26-step process. Theirs, nah. The truck is hooked to the trailer. You start it in the landing gear and work yourself to the cab. You pull the truck out from under the trailer. Once you get it uncoupled, you drive around, back under the trailer. Once you get out the cab to secure the trailer, you work from the cab back to the landing gear. So it's pretty straightforward, pretty easy. So yeah, I forgot about that. The last week, like I said, it's 2 weeks for orientation. The last week is mostly watching videos and taking little tests. Like I said, they're like 10, 15 questions, multiple choice. If you pay attention in the videos, you do good on it. I think I missed like maybe 1 or 2. Some tests I didn't miss any on. They'll give you a website to go to, and they'll give you a username and password. and you'll have modules that you have to do, kind of like in college, like Blackboard, where you have to go on there and watch videos, take a test after the video. If you miss one question on the test, you have to watch the whole video again. There's no fast forward and rewinding. You can pause it, but that's it. So you really want to pay attention to the videos. You really want to watch them and pay attention, because like I said, you know, some of the videos are 15, 17 minutes long, and they're real dry, and a lot of information in there, but it's just real dry. And you know, there was a couple videos that were 15, one was 17 minutes long. I had to watch the whole thing all over again because I got one question wrong. So just be mindful of that and stay up on it, because if you don't keep your assignments caught up on that website, they will call you out and say, hey, look, you know, you need to get on top of this stuff. And also, you get assigned a trainer the last day of the second week. You get assigned a trainer, and if you're not caught up on your videos, you don't get assigned a trainer. So you have to stay on top of them. I usually did mine every night when I get back to the hotel. We get back to the hotel about 5:30, and I would go downstairs to the computer at the hotel and knock them out. It'd take me about 30, 45 minutes, and I was done. And there were some nights you had homework, like trip planning. They would let you start on it in class. Sometimes you could finish it in class. Sometimes you'd have a little bit to do at the hotel, but it was nothing evasive or invasive, nothing that took up a whole lot of time. So the last week, back to the last week, a lot of videos, a lot of little tests, backing exercises. So you got 1, 2, 3 different backing exercises. One is a serpentine. The other is a parallel park to a dock, which is not that bad. And then the other one is a 45-degree back in between 2 cargo trailers. One thing that I found, I'm pretty good at backing a truck, but backing a spread axle flatbed trailer is a lot different. It takes a while for what you do at the steering wheel to get back there to the axle to make it do what it needs to do, to turn the way you want it to turn. What I have learned is when you get ready to turn on your back, go ahead and crank that steering wheel and get it started turning, and then go back the opposite direction, you know, to kind of calm it back down. That helped me out a lot. So you'll have to do those. You'll have to show the instructor that you can do those, but he'll give you like a day to practice before you get tested on it. And testing on it, he's sitting in a car watching you do it. So it's not a big deal. Also, during the last week, you'll have to do another road test with a different trainer. His name is Mr. Harry, super guy. He was just, we kept him laughing, and he kept us laughing. It was a good week. But this ride, however, he gives you a trip plan, and then you have to shorthand write it out what the trip plan is. Excuse me. And you go out. It's 26 miles. It'll take you about 45 minutes to an hour to do it. Then you just come back. He's watching a little more closely what you're doing than the first ride. They're not real sticklers on grinding gears or stuff. You know, when you get in a truck you've never driven before, you're going to grind some gears. That's just the way it is until you get used to what you're doing on that particular vehicle. They're looking to see if you can follow directions, drive safely, and obey the traffic laws. That's what they're looking at. We actually had a guy in our class, felt so sorry for him. He got sent home the day before the last day of the second week because he failed his road test. And so just because you're at orientation and training does not mean that you're hired, okay? You've got to prove yourself. You've got to prove that you're not scared to work. You've got to prove that you can operate the vehicle. You've got to prove that when you're given a task, you can get it done. That's what they're looking for. And as long as you can do all that, pass your DOT physical and pass your physical agility test, you won't have no problems. So we'll fast forward to the last day of the second day or second week of training, and basically what that consisted of was just tying up loose ends, some training videos and stuff about tarping. They show you how to tarping and tarp, things like that. They show you a bunch of safety videos on what a bungee cord can do to an eyeball. Yeah, it's not good. What jumping down off a trailer can do to an ankle. Yeah, that ain't good either. So they just go through a bunch of stuff like that. They show some graphic pictures of injuries that's happened to Mcelroy drivers. So, yeah. And then towards the very end of the class that day, you get assigned your trainer. And then once you get assigned your trainer, you're free to go. So I left Friday, which was 2 days ago. I left Pleasant Hill Terminal at like 12 o'clock. And so that was interesting. What I will say for Mcelroy is this. So far, I love everything that I see about the company. The first day we were there, they gave us a bunch of handouts. And one of the handouts was basically a guide if you're married or in a relationship. Basically, it's kind of like I guess you would call it a counseling type deal, where they just kind of tell you what life on the road is like for a truck driver with a family at home, and just some pointers on what to do when you get home, how to act, and how to be able to keep and sustain your marriage while you're on the road. Some people might get offended at that. I thought it was a great thing. I'm game for advice on anything. Like I said earlier, I got a great wife, so I'm not really worried about my marriage at all. But there were some things in there that were helpful. That kind of give you her perspective, or, if you happen to be a female truck driver, his perspective. You're out on the road, they're at home, holding down the fort, keeping everything together. And, you're not the only one that's had a stressful week as a truck driver. You're not the only one that's had, tasks and things to take care of. As a truck driver, they've been home, watching the kids, or, keeping the house, and, keeping the bills paid, and all this stuff. So it just kind of gives you both perspectives and gives you another angle, to think about things. So I thought it was cool, man. I called my wife that night, and I was like, man, this is awesome. This is cool. So we'll go back to when I left Friday. I found out that my mentor lives in Tennessee. They try to get you close to your mentor so you don't have to make a long commute. However, sometimes it don't work out. Mine didn't work out that way. So I found out Friday, 2 days ago, that my trainer lives in Tennessee, north of Knoxville, right at the Kentucky line. And they booked me a room in Middlesboro, Kentucky, which is where I am right now. So I found out Friday that I had to leave Saturday at 3 o'clock and drive all the way from eastern North Carolina to Middlesboro, Kentucky, which was about 7 hours through the mountains and everything. It was not an easy ride. There was a torrential downpour, a tornado. There was actually a tractor trailer jackknife in the middle of the interstate from the winds and the water that fell. But anyway, I got here last night. They put me up in a hotel. They told me they would pay me an extra, I believe it was $200 a week for my inconvenience, on top of my training pay, which is $600 a week. So that's $800. I'm not complaining. And they put me up in a pretty nice room. I pulled up at the hotel, and I was like, man, this is a little sketchy. But once I got in the room, man, it's actually, it's really a nice room. It's got laminate floors and no, it's not a bad room at all. Very clean, recently renovated. So nice bathroom, nice shower, hot water. Man, it's not bad at all. So anyway, I wanted to give you my perspective on training and orientation with Mcelroy. I got to meet my mentor at 3 o'clock today in Tazewell, Tennessee, to get started. I think we're going down to Duluth, Georgia. I talked to him Friday night, and he told me to go ahead and get a trip planned together, and so I've already got that together. So I'm going to get ready and start heading that way here before too long. But again, my name is Michael. I'm going to post some more videos because I find this stuff to be helpful. This is just my experience so far, and I'm very pleased. My recruiter, Miss Anita, she was great. She hasn't told me anything that's not true so far, despite all the other stuff that you hear. A lot of these guys get on here and they get mad over stuff that they shouldn't be getting mad over. And my personal, I could just as easily got mad because I had to drive, 400 miles to Kentucky, and leave my wife at home. That was not hard. That was not an easy thing to do. Leaving knowing that I'm probably going to be gone for about 5 weeks before I get back home, because it just doesn't make sense for me to come in next Friday, drive all the way home, and then be back Sunday to leave out again. So I'm going to be here probably for the next 4 weeks. At the end of 4 weeks, with your trainer, you have to go down to Cuba, Alabama, and that's where you get your truck, and you'll be there from Sunday to Thursday, and then they give you a load to get you back home. So it'll be 5 weeks before I get back home. I don't know. But anyway, I'm going to probably post another video sometime this week, and just let you know what it's like on the road. I'm looking forward to it. So anyway, I hope this helps, and I'll be in touch. God bless.